Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. Well, this is our map day where we get to go a little bit more deep into our topic for the week and tell you all about how you can use this week's material in your writing. So take it away, Victoria.
Okay, guys, welcome back. So, you may recall from last week, I walked you through an exercise using your experience collection. If you're just catching up, an experience collection is simply a section in your Zettelkasten where you literally collect your experiences on note cards. It may be something you overhear that you find interesting. It might be something you observe during your daily walk. Whatever it is, you're just collecting things that might be used in your writing. Last week, the exercise that I gave you was to show, using actions of your character, something that character was holding back, okay? This week, we're going to expand on that because I want you to start thinking about different modes of expression for your characters and how you can use those to convey ideas to the reader without hitting them in the head with it. Rather than saying, Jan was so angry, maybe you're going to say, she threw the book across the room, right? You're telling them without telling them. So let's look at 3 modes of expression and experiment with how you might get those words on the page using them. The first one is the one I just described. It's an action. So the first thing I want you to do is take a few minutes and think about a character. It could be somebody that you've already written. It could be a character that you're dreaming about. Maybe it's a character that's needed in your story and you're not quite sure how to express them. Let's take that character and jot down some actions that they can take that tell your reader something about them. Now, I'm not going to give you too many details because I want you to think it through and write the thing that makes the most sense or has the most value for you. So just think of some actions they could take. One of the ones that I used for the novel that I'm working on is my character, when she's really frustrated, she just can't stand being in the room anymore. She just gets up and storms completely out of the building. That tells you a lot without saying she stormed out of the building. You just show what she does and then show the reaction either from the other characters or internally. Now that, my friends, brings us to the second mode of expression, which is thought. Sometimes you can demonstrate the internal storm or the external action or reaction of a character by showing what's going on inside. So instead of saying, Sally was extremely worried and nervous about the big meeting. Okay, that's not very exciting. I wouldn't want to read that book. Instead, what if from the time that Sally gets out of her car and walks across the parking lot into the building where the meeting is, you're narrating a chaotic, crazy, anxious, worrisome group of thoughts that's just running through her head like wild animals. Something about, did she leave the stove on at home? Oh my gosh, I forgot to run this errand. Oh, I don't know that I've got my briefs with me. Did I bring my briefcase? You could have all of this crazy, chaotic mashup going on in her head that tells you her internal state is chaotic and worried without saying that out loud. So that's a second way, is using your character's thoughts, shining a spotlight on them for the reader, and then letting the reader figure out, why is this person acting so crazy in their head? Well, potentially they're worried or angry. There's a limited list of reasons why, but your job is to lay out that breadcrumb trail using your character's thoughts to convey that information to the reader. So that's actions and that's thoughts. Can you guess the third one? It's speech. It could be dialogue. It could be monologue. Now, everybody knows the Hamlet monologue, oh gosh, what is it, Kathleen, where he says to be or not to be. Okay, so he's questioning his state of existence. That whole speech, that monologue says a whole lot without really saying it directly. So maybe that character is speaking aloud, asking questions of themselves. What am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? They're just speaking out loud, letting the reader be the listener. The alternative to that is they're in dialogue with another character. So avoid the inclination to just info dump using another character, right? As we learned last week when we were talking, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's just dumping information on your reader and disguising it as dialogue. You need to be a little more subtle and a little more clever about how you do it. But if you give them another character to speak to and allow them to have an honest exchange, you can share a lot of information with your reader in the way that they have that conversation. So that's 3 modes of expression. You've got actions, speech, and thoughts. So play around with those. When we get to the Zettelkasten next week, we're going to talk about how to get those into your notebox. And then during writing week, I'm really going to press you with some exercises. But for now, just look at those 3 aspects and see, is there a way that you can use them with that character that you're thinking about? With that, I will throw it over to Kathleen to get us back into modesty.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Victoria. What a great way of thinking about how we're going to approach a character trait. We're going to be revealing something about our character. Let's say we're going to reveal something about our character's state of modesty. Well, we're going to have the potential for victory, loss, and struggle. And those are related to struggle, remember, is related to the rudder position where the character's trying to decide. Well, remember, modesty is about attention. Does this character need attention? That's one of the lost states. Or does the character shun attention? That's another one of the lost states. Let's start with just those 2, and let's play the game that Victoria just laid out for us and see how these 2 can work together. All right, so you're going to show that your character shuns attention. John came up to Phyllis and handed her the microphone. She froze in her tracks and looked around. Who could she hand it to? There's an action. You know she doesn't want the attention. Why me? Why do I have the microphone? All right. So the next time we're gonna play this same exercise again, and now we're gonna do it with her thoughts. Dawn approached Phyllis with the microphone. Oh no, she thought to herself, he can't be handing it to me. Where's he going? Who else is nearby? Again, we showed it with her thoughts. Or we could show it with her speech. Dawn hands Phyllis the microphone. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Now so there's an example of using Victoria's methods to show the various aspects of modesty. But what might you want to show in the struggle for modesty? Modesty we normally think of as being a part of who the character is. The flamboyant character who waltzes into the room and expects all eyes on her. Well, is that character struggling with modesty? Probably not. Or what about Phyllis? No, don't hand me the microphone. Is Phyllis struggling with modesty? Probably not. So who do you suppose actually struggles with modesty? It's going to be the person who's giving themselves a talking to. Now, let's take another fellow, Robert. His best friend Paul is getting married. And naturally, Paul wants Robert to be the best man. But one of the things the best man has to do is give the toast. And the bride comes from a huge family, and it's going to be a very large wedding. And he's going to have to give the toast. So there he is, talking himself up. I can do this. I can make this happen. I'm not going to call undue attention to myself. Remember, it's about toasting the groom. It's about reminding all the people while we're all here to celebrate our groom. And he gives himself a talking to, encouraging himself to withstand his lack of desire for attention. Alternatively, you can have a woman, she wants something out of a guy, and so here she is dressing a little bit provocatively, and then she looks at herself in the mirror and says, wait a minute, I'm better than that. I can win this position on my own merit. And she grabs a shrug and buttons it at the top where it just barely suggests what's underneath. She's going to prove her own worth. Again, this is a case of struggle. So modesty can exist at the lost state and at the struggle state. What about the victory state? How does modesty show up in the victory state? Well, we said modesty is about the need for attention. Well, if you don't need a lot of attention, what happens to modesty? It kind of disappears. It disappears because the character isn't thinking about themselves. The character isn't thinking about herself. She's thinking about what she needs to say. He's thinking about giving the proper toast. These 2 guys are not thinking about themselves and about the attention they need. And modesty in the victory state just kind of vanishes. It's the amazing, disappearing character trait. Anything to add, Victoria?
No, not at all. That was fantastic. These are the kinds of things that if you just let go of your preconceptions, let go of the blinders, and just play with these things on the page, I think you will tease out very interesting things from your characters that you may not have considered before. So I would encourage you, lean into these exercises and see what you find out.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Victoria. And if you play around with them and you want to test out your writing, come on over to LiLLiPub.org. This is where Fusion Writing gathers. We have a Saturday Zoom call, and we would love to share your writing and give you some tips. And you can help participate in giving some tips to the other writers in our group. And also over on LiLLiPub, we have a circle for character traits where every week I put out a prompt that you can actually test out your writing on a little assignment and just a few paragraphs and pop in and share your ideas of the character trait with others who are also writing on the character trait. So come on over to lillipub.org. We'd love to see you there.
See ya.
All right. Bye-bye.